Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your host. Joining me today is a very special guest, constitutional law attorney, senior legal advisor for Team Trump, and counsel to the president, the one and only Jenna Ellis. Welcome, Jenna.
Great to join you, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Let's start at the top. Most people think the president is elected on election day, but how does that process actually work? When does the president, or when does the Electoral College actually certify the vote?
Yeah, well, unlike what Hillary Clinton apparently failed to realize, is that the popular vote actually doesn't matter. What the founders appreciated and recognized about our constitutional republic and how the states should not just be governed by, where the masses are centrally located. We actually have an electoral college, and that matters. And so even though Congress has set election day on the first Tuesday of every November, the electoral college actually meets in December. So for this year, it's December 14th. And so how the process actually works is that each state's legislatures, according to Article 2 of the Constitution, set the method by which their electors are chosen. And of course, that number is defined in the Constitution, how they calculate how many electoral votes each state gets. And so then once the state legislatures then have their method of selecting electors, when the people vote in each state, then their electors are chosen from a slate that either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, depending on who wins in that state, gets to put forth their electors. And so then on December 14th, the Electoral College actually casts their vote for the president.
It's an amazing process. Absolutely amazing. It just blows my mind every time I think about how carefully the founders thought all this stuff out. It's just incredible.
Yes.
We've seen both camps, the president and Joe Biden, say they will look to declare themselves the winner, basically, as soon as there's no question about the results. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, well, when we look at the calculation of how many electoral votes there are, the candidate who gets the majority, or 270 or more, is declared the victor. And so when there is a decisive victory, 270 or more, then at that point it's appropriate for one of the candidates to declare victory. And of course, President Trump and Team Trump are very confident that President Trump will be able to declare victory. If we look at what's going on with this red wave across the country, we're seeing such a great turnout in rallies. I mean, if you ignore the suppression polls, ignore the fake news media, ignore, what we've seen in 2016, which is very similar to what we're seeing in 2020, with the mainstream media that has just hated this president from the moment that he came down the escalator in Trump Tower in 2015. They have hated him. They have been designed to just be anti-Trump. But if you actually look at the real data, if you look at how many people are showing up to his rallies, and you actually look at, those 25,000 people or more, and you see the actual data from the rallies, between 18 and 25% of the people that are pro-Trump, that are supporting him, that are turning out, are actually registered Democrats and independents, people who didn't vote in 2016. And so we're seeing this remarkable turnout, not just because of the pandemic, I think, but also because if we get at least 68% or more of the eligible voters in America actually turning out, that's significant. And that's because President Trump has kept his promises to the American people. He has been a president of the people, by the people, for the people. And, you made the comment just a moment ago that our founders just had this wonderful design of the Constitution. And President Trump understands that. He understands that our Constitution is designed to protect and preserve our rights that come from God, our Creator, as our Declaration acknowledges. And so for the first time in world history, we had our founding fathers who unanimously declared that our rights are preserved. They come from God, our Creator, not our government. It's the sole purpose of government, not to tell us what our rights are, but to protect and preserve them. And that's what President Trump has done. He has restored so much power to the people. He's given us the most opportunity to continue freedom, liberty, the opportunity for economic prosperity, truly the American dream. And he understands that, I think, more than anyone. And, our founders did create such a brilliant system because, and I love to say this, not many people know, the chief architects of the Declaration Committee were all lawyers, and about 53 of the signers of the U.S. Constitution were lawyers. They understood about government. They understood how government could be oppressive to the people. They understood that we needed to separate powers. We also needed a judicial branch that would be the check and balance of the two political branches, so that they wouldn't be like what the Democrats are trying to do, just railroad their unconstitutional policy. President Trump has restored and returned to the Supreme Court as well as the federal branch through over 200 originalist judges on the federal bench, because he wants accountability for our two political branches. And I think that's going to be his strongest legacy of his first term. And we're going to continue for the next 4 years to continue putting the American people first.
What if there is no clear victor tonight? How will President Trump proceed? Because we've heard reports in some crucial states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, they won't have results until tomorrow is what we're looking at.
Right. Well, it depends. I mean, so if we don't get a clear victor tonight in terms of meeting that 270 threshold, then it may just be, in the early hours of tomorrow. But if there are contested states, like let's take Pennsylvania, for example, if those 20 Electoral College votes matter either way to the outcome, then there could potentially be litigation. And so again, when we go back to the U.S. Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, we are a nation of rules, a rule of law, not a nation of rulers. And we're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic with elements of democracy in our system. So we go back to the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution says in Article 2 that the state legislatures are the ones that select the method of choosing their electors. And what Pennsylvania state legislature has done is that they have not acted in the last 9 months. They have not changed their election law. What's happened is that governors, that states attorneys general, that secretaries of state, that clerks have tried to manipulate in Democrat-controlled states and local precincts. They have tried to manipulate the election law according to their advantage. That is unconstitutional because only state legislatures, according to our U.S. Constitution, can do that. So what President Trump has said from day one, what matters to not only his race, but all the way down ticket. We've seen in 2020 how much state and local elections matter as well, that Team Trump, President Trump, the RNC, we are going to continue to fight for the rule of law. We're going to fight to make sure that we are protecting and preserving the American constitutional republic, the U.S. Constitution, and making sure that we are protecting free and fair elections in our country.
Nothing's really been confirmed, but there's been some reliable sources on Twitter that have been pointing out some shenanigans. Voting machines went down in a pro-Trump county in Georgia. Philly seems to be especially troublesome with reports of legitimate poll watchers being turned away. Is the campaign doing anything about this? And is the Justice Department doing anything to guarantee the integrity of our representative republic?
Oh, absolutely. So we have several coalitions, including Lawyers for Trump, which is prepared to deploy lawyers to key states and local areas if and when needed. We also have Election Day integrity operations. So we have Army for Trump that is deploying all of our election integrity operations. Of course, the RNC is involved. And so we're making sure to have people on the ground. And so these reports have come through Team Trump. A lot of them have already been verified through our channels to make sure that we're reporting any of these instances of either voter intimidation, voter suppression, not allowing any of the certified poll watchers in Democrat states. And again, Joe Biden wants to claim that somehow this is President Trump who is suppressing legitimate votes. That's absolutely false. These are only Democrats that are doing these things on the ground because they know that Joe Biden does not have the votes. He doesn't have the enthusiasm that President Trump does. And President Trump has always been a president for the people and to make sure that, again, we are a country of free and fair elections. So we have our Election Day integrity operations, and you can also go to protectthevote.com. It's the joint website of the campaign and the RNC, and it shows where we're fighting to make sure to protect election integrity across the country.
Okay, Jenna. So I've got to get into my nightmare scenario with regard to Sleepy Joe. Mainstream media will declare Biden won, and he'll start taking his victory lap. Meanwhile, big tech has promised to shut down anyone who doesn't toe the line of the quote-unquote official media. Basically, we're looking at a scenario where the pro-Biden media could be lying, telling the country that Biden won, and there's no dissenting voices that will be able to say otherwise. What's the plan then?
Yeah, well, even if Joe Biden declares victory, it's not up to a candidate to declare victory, and then that's the constitutional process. It matters what states certifies their results and what the Electoral College actually does on December 14th. So we actually do have a several week, about 5 week period to make those legal challenges if necessary, to make sure, President Trump is the master of media and speaking directly to the American people. And so we will definitely get that message out if that is a false claim of victory or if there are any other legal concerns. So absolutely, you can be guaranteed that we'll make sure that exactly what's going on, and if there's anything in terms of contesting the legitimacy of any of these claims of the mainstream media or Joe Biden, we'll certainly bring that to you.
Awesome. How long do you think the country will actually have to wait for the final result, one way or another?
Well, I'm hopeful that President Trump will be able to declare a decisive victory tonight. And, these states like Pennsylvania won't even matter to the electoral count. And we see several pathways to 270 and beyond, even without some of these pivotal swing states that have some of these election integrity issues going on. So that's my hope. I think that would be the best case scenario. It'd also be great for the country to just know tonight to be able to move forward into the next 4 years. I think that would be really helpful and hopeful. But if it's within another day or two, I think that certainly everyone is kind of prepared for that. What I'm hoping is that we don't have to have these litigation challenges. We don't have to then have these drawn out legal battles, only because of course, the fake news media is going to try to spin that. They're going to try to say that this is voter suppression. Again, that's totally false. Anything that the Trump campaign, the RNC, or President Trump is doing and what we're promoting is the U.S. Constitution and holding states accountable to their own legislatures, their own law, and the U.S. Constitution. And that's to protect election integrity and to make sure that free and fair elections continue to happen in this country.
Yeah, I lived through Bush v. Gore back in 2000, for which was just a nightmare. I mean, I think it was like 30 days we didn't know who the president was. I can handle a couple days, with this election. I do not want to get into a 30-day drawn out, counting chads and whatnot. That was a nightmare.
I agree with you. And I think even in 2020, how much the tensions of America are kind of running high. And I think, even as much as the country was watching that whole case back in 2000, I think we're also at a different point with the extremist radical left. And we're seeing, the socialist influence from the Democratic Party that was, just starting to bubble up at that point in the early 2000s. And so, again, I think it would be very helpful for this country if we had a very clear outcome by tonight or within the next few days.
Yeah, those were very different Democrats back then. For those of us who
Absolutely.
were old enough to remember, it was a very different party. It was nowhere near as radicalized as it is today. And relatively speaking, that wasn't that long ago. So
yeah, isn't it incredible? And that's where President Trump always talks about the Obama-Biden administration and how just completely off course that administration took America. And I wrote a piece for Constitution Day, which we always celebrate on September 17th every year. I mean, everyone's familiar with Independence Day, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but when we actually adopted our U.S. Constitution was September 17th of 1787. And that's such an important day. And I wrote a piece for Newsweek. I would encourage everyone to go out and read it. It's called Save Our American System. And it's contrasting. This isn't just two good faith parties that kind of have a little bit different partisan policy ways of, getting to the same sort of thing of protecting and preserving the freedom and liberty of every American. The Democrats are no longer acting in good faith. They haven't for decades now. They are actually wanting to tear down our American system because of all of the safeguards that our founding fathers so brilliantly embedded have really just confused their purposes. They frustrated their purposes. So now the Democrats don't even want our Constitution to exist anymore. I mean, that's why they're trying to harness the power of impeachment, for example, that was just so far outside the bounds of what our founders intended. The judicial branch, how they're trying to use that as a political they want. So this election, and I hope for people who are watching and you still have a couple hours, get out to the polls and vote for President Trump, because we have to save our American system to make sure that we are still protecting freedom, liberty, opportunity, prosperity. We are the beacon of freedom and liberty in the world, and we have to protect our amazing constitutional system for generations to come. That's what President Trump has committed himself to.
Yeah, it's like Reagan said, I mean, freedom is just one generation, or more truer today than when he said it. Jenna, I'm going to link to that article as well in this video so people can check that out because it sounds like a fantastic piece. Last question. How much does Trump win by? What do you think?
Well, I think, optimistically speaking, I've seen maps that are definitely plausible that are, 300 plus on Electoral College votes. I would not at all put that out of the realm of possibility, just given how much he has just continued to pick up support, especially since the debate and even throughout, the last 4 years. So I think that that's definitely possible. But I do think that we're going to see a significant margin. If I had to predict, we're going to see such a significant electoral margin of victory that hopefully, again, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, won't even matter, and we'll get to 270 with a really significant win in red states. But, I also have friends in California who are seeing just massive Trump flags, that huge Hollywood-looking sign of Trump, and and my one kind of outside the box thing is, wouldn't it be amazing if President Trump took California? That would make my night.
That would be just absolutely insane. I would love to see a Reagan 84 repeat. Yes. I don't know if that's necessarily in the cards, but hey, we do have two candidates, Mondale and Biden, that both said they want to raise everybody's taxes. Exactly. I mean, and Trump's in a position where he can legitimately, like Reagan, ask, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" The similarities are quite striking, and I've often said that we haven't had anybody represent the people like Trump really since Reagan.
Absolutely. And I think he's very much a Reagan-esque president. And so, yeah, maybe we'll see a 1984 turnabout in 2020 and another Reagan Mondale. That would be amazing.
Yes, I often say I want to make America again. And this is one area where we need to make that happen. So anyway, we're out of time. Jenna, I want to thank you so much for joining me. You absolutely rock. Get out there, and I've already voted. I've done my part. I know you got lots of other things to do, and you've got to go out there and save the world. So I'll let you go. I want to thank Jenna for joining me. Everyone check out the politicalinsider.com. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss any of our stories from our talented writers. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please like and share this video far and wide. Subscribe to the Political Insider channel on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss any of our new videos like this one. Everyone have a great day. Make sure you get out there and vote for Trump. Thanks to Jenna, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you. Go Trump.
Thank you.